The viola is one of the most important instruments in the orchestra. It holds everything together and it makes everything sound better. And today, with Gary Labovitz, violist of the Toronto Symphony Orchestra, you begin your viola journey. Gary's going to teach you how to take it out of the case properly, how to hold it properly, how to put it to your body correctly, how to make your first sound. And be aware of a couple of things as he's telling a couple of stories and jokes along the way. What does Gary have in his case that makes his case so beautiful? And what does he keep in that little leather bag inside of his case, and why? Be aware of these details. My name is Daniel Bartholomew Poyser. I'm the Principal Education Conductor of the Toronto Symphony Orchestra, and we're just so pleased that you've chosen to join hundreds, maybe thousands of students from all over Ontario to learn about the viola and to start your journey. Because this is a video, we encourage you to stop at any time and practice the things that Gary is teaching you to do. It takes practice, takes some time, but like he says at the end of the video, it's absolutely worth it as you start this journey. If you have questions, be sure to email us at schoolconcerts@tso.ca. That's schoolconcerts@tso.ca, and we will do our best to get back to you and answer any questions you may have. All right, it's time for your lesson. I'm Daniel Bartholomew Poyser. Enjoy.
Hi everyone, my name is Gary Labovitz. I play the viola. Welcome to Sound Advice. And today I'm going to talk to you about the viola, some aspects of it, how you play it, the kinds of sound you make, what's necessary to put it together, all the things that I need to do on a daily basis when I come to my viola case. So the first thing obviously you need to do is open the case. You'll find lots of things inside, including pictures of your loved ones, grandchildren, etc. But my viola lives inside here. Unlike wind instruments, the viola comes pretty much put together. There's not a lot that we have to add to it. The chin rest is already in place. Another thing that you have to do when you take out the instrument, the viola comes with it, you need a bow. This bow is a stick of wood onto which horsehair is strung. And again, we'll talk a little bit more about that later, but in my case, I have a cake of rosin. Rosin is a sticky substance which comes from a tree, and it's made into this round cake or sometimes rectangular cake of rosin, and you put the rosin on the bow to help the bow create a sound when you draw it across the strings. That's the second thing that you need to play, that I do, and I don't do that every morning. I'll do that maybe 2 or 3 times a week, depending on how much I'm playing and the type of music that I'm playing. If I'm playing a lot of very vigorous music, I might use a little bit more rosin. Some of you, maybe even most of you, might put what we call a shoulder rest on the back of your viola. This might help you to feel more comfortable when playing. I use that word might. I used to use one of these, I don't any longer, but this is how you put the shoulder rest on. And this is a very old shoulder rest. You just take the feet of the shoulder rest, you put it on the side of the corner of the of the viola, and then you slightly stretch it and put it on. And this is what it looks like. Also, another thing that you can do, some people do, is just take a pad or a piece of foam and they string it. And this gives you a little bit more height to the instrument, which again may help you play if that's what you prefer. Now, most important piece of equipment in my whole case is in this little leather case, and it's called nail clippers. Nail clippers are essential for string players because you cannot play a violin, a viola, or cello, maybe not even a double bass, with long fingernails. So get used to clipping your nails daily, and I carry it in this little leather case. Okay, so these are just a few of the aspects of the viola which I see when I open it up on a daily basis. The other thing to remember is to always have a handkerchief or a cloth which you can use after you play to gently wipe the rosin or any kind of dust or anything off of the instrument. It will sound better if it's clean, if it looks good. Don't put anything on the cloth, just gently wipe it off. A funny story. There was once a violinist whose name was Jascha Heifetz, one of the greatest violinists of all time. He played at concerts, and after the concerts, one of the concert goers came up to him and said, "Maestro, your violin sounded so beautiful tonight." And Heifetz picked up his violin and put it next to his ear, and he said, "Funny, I don't hear anything." Well, the truth of the matter, a violin or a viola, which produce the sound the same way, need the player to produce the sound. The instrument does not produce the sound on its own. In order to produce the sound on the viola, which is essentially a wooden box, you need to either use the bow or use your finger to pluck the string. As you see, there are 4 strings on the viola. They are attached in the peg box up here by the scroll, all the way down to the tailpiece, which in turn is attached to the body of the instrument here at what we call the button. And the strings are stretched to a particular tension to create the sounds of the open strings. The strings are made to vibrate either by use of the bow or by the use of the finger through this piece of wood called a bridge, which takes those vibrations and sends them through the instrument, from the top of the instrument to the bottom of the instrument, to the back of the instrument, through a little peg inside the instrument called a sound post. And when all of this vibrations are happening, when all these vibrations are happening, the sound is released through these holes here on the top of the instrument called F-holes. And that's how sound is made. Now, let me just make sure my viola is in tune, because I just changed my D string. So when you use a bow, it's called arco, and you might get a sound like this. Or if you wanted to use your finger, we get a sound which is called pizzicato, and it sounds like this. I want to talk a little bit about how to hold the bow and how to hold the viola. The bow is somewhat easier to explain. If you see at the top of my case, there's a yellow pencil. If you just naturally were to pick up a pencil, you extend your fingers and you pick it up between your thumb and your fingers, you'll come up with a hold that's similar to this, with the tip of your little finger resting on top of the pencil and your thumb bent underneath the pencil. So again, pencil's there on top of the case. I walk over, I want to pick it up. I don't want to think too hard about it. I just pick up the pencil. Similarly, if my bow were sitting here on top of the case, you can see the bottom of the bow. This black section here is called the frog of the bow. And there's a little bump on the frog of the bow. So what you want to do is imagine that this is like the pencil. You're just walking over, you're grasping or lightly grasping, lightly lifting up the bow with your thumb bent at the edge of the frog, with your little finger bent at the bottom of the bow. And this is how I hold my bow. Nothing very fancy, nothing very complicated. No squeezing, please. Okay, now the instrument itself is the viola itself is a slightly different situation. And I prefer to think of the viola as an extension of my body and my mind. And so therefore, the process of playing the viola is a function of how I think. Now that may be a difficult or unusual concept. A few basics. If you take your instrument in your right hand and hold it by the right corner, facing down, scroll facing down, and you take your left hand and put it across onto your right shoulder, and then you lift your instrument up. We all have a collarbone. It's this bony protrusion below your neck. We all have a collarbone. You take the instrument, you put it on your collarbone, and then you extend your arm, and you extend this arm to hold the bow. And that's pretty much how to hold the instrument. However, it's going to feel unusual, it's going to feel out of balance. So therefore, the way I look at things is I make sure I am telling myself as I am doing this to aim my body up in space. My head is going way away from the top of my spine, my shoulders are open and wide, and my back is towards the back wall. So I'm creating these oppositions in myself similar to the oppositions that you would create if you were to put up a tent, or the balance that you might be providing yourself if you're riding a bike. So holding the instrument is all about balance. It's not about a fixed posture. It's not about getting a particular way and maintaining that. What you need to do is maintain the thinking so that you enable your body to continue to be open as you play. What you don't want is any kind of squeezing, either here with the neck or with the shoulder or with the fingers or anything like that, because that will cause ultimately a great deal of discomfort and will make your playing harder. So now I'm going to make a sound on the instrument. You've already heard a few sounds, but this time I'm just going to put the instrument up, like I've explained, like I've shown you. I'm going to keep my thinking going so that really I'm not so concerned about the sound that I make, but I want to continue to think up in space with my back behind me, and I'm just going to let the bow touch the string. Playing the viola is a tricky thing. It's very much about growing and not being afraid to make mistakes and having a good time while doing it. So I hope this gives you an idea. If you have any questions, please send them to me. It's a lifelong endeavor, but it's well worth the effort. Thank you.